There's one thing that separates men who effortlessly attract women from those who remain invisible, wondering why everyone else gets the girl. And here's what will shock you. It has nothing to do with looks, money, or even confidence. The men who do this one specific thing are the most attractive to women, yet less than 10% of men actually understand what it is. Right now, you're probably thinking about that guy you know. Maybe he's shorter, less attractive, or doesn't even have his life together, yet women gravitate toward him like moths to a flame. What does he know that you don't? What is he doing that makes women choose him over seemingly better options? Before I reveal this attraction secret that changed everything for me, I need to tell you about something called the Scrambler effect, a psychological trigger that instantly flips a woman's attraction switch. I'll share the link in the description, and at the end of this video, I'll show you exactly how to use it to never end up in the friend zone again. But first, let me take you back to the most humiliating moment of my dating life. I was standing in the bookstore, pretending to browse through magazines while stealing glances at this incredible woman just 3 feet away. She had this magnetic presence that made everyone else in the room seem to fade into the background. And here's the thing, I caught her looking at me twice. Clear indicators of interest that I now know were golden opportunities. But what did I do? I stood there like a statue, convincing myself I was being mysterious and stoic. I'd read all the advice online about not being desperate, about being independent, about letting women come to you. So I waited, and waited, and waited some more. 15 agonizing minutes later, she left. And I was left standing there with my magazine, feeling like a complete failure, wondering what the hell was wrong with me. Here's what I didn't understand then, but wish I'd known. I was being passively masculine instead of actively masculine. And this distinction is exactly what separates men who attract women from those who repel them. See, most men today have been programmed to believe that masculinity is something to be ashamed of. We've been told to tone it down, to be nice, to wait for signals. But here's the brutal truth about female psychology that no one talks about. Women don't see you as a man until you prove it. You're not a man to her, you're a potential man. She knows you're male, sure. But do you have the kind of masculinity that makes her feel safe, protected, and deeply attracted? Or are you just another guy who's afraid of his own masculine energy? Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life. Picture this. You're at the grocery store, and you notice an attractive woman in the produce section. She's selecting apples, and you find yourself in the same aisle. Now, here's where most men fail catastrophically. They hover. They wait for some magical moment or perfect opening line. They convince themselves they're being respectful by not bothering her. But what's really happening in her mind? She's thinking, is this guy actually interested, or is he just another passive observer in his own life? This is where the psychology gets fascinating. Women are wired differently than men when it comes to attraction. While men can look at a woman and instantly know they're attracted, women need to see something else first. They need to see that you're a man who goes after what he wants. Back to my bookstore disaster. 3 months later, I found myself in a similar situation. Same type of setting, same type of woman showing clear interest. But this time, something inside me snapped. I was tired of being a spectator in my own life. I walked over to her, heart pounding, palms sweating, and said something so simple it almost felt anticlimactic. "Excuse me, I know this might sound forward, but I noticed you from across the room and had to come talk to you. I'm Michael." What happened next changed my entire understanding of women and attraction. She smiled, not just politely but genuinely, and said, "I was wondering if you were going to come over here." Then we talked for 20 minutes. She gave me her number without me even asking. We went out that weekend. But here's the kicker. She later told me that what attracted her most wasn't my opening line or my looks. It was that I had the courage to be actively masculine. I went after what I wanted instead of hoping it would somehow fall into my lap. This is the difference between active and passive masculinity. Passive masculinity is standing there, looking good, being stoic, and hoping something magical happens. Active masculinity is taking action, making moves, and showing her that you're a man who creates his own opportunities. Now, here's where the female psychology gets really interesting. Women have been programmed by evolution to be selective. They can't afford to open themselves up to just any man because of the potential consequences. So they wait for a man to prove himself through his actions. When you approach a woman, you're not interrupting her day, you're giving her the gift of certainty. You're showing her that you're confident enough to take social risks, that you're not paralyzed by fear of rejection, and most importantly, that you're actively masculine. But there's a crucial distinction here that most men miss. Starting a conversation is just the beginning of active masculinity. Within the first 5 seconds of interaction, she's already decided whether you're truly comfortable with your masculinity or if you're just pretending. Let me share what happened on that date I mentioned. We met at a wine bar, and everything was going perfectly. Great conversation, obvious chemistry, lots of laughing. But then came the moment of truth. As we finished our drinks, I could sense we were both ready to leave. The old me would have said, "Well, this was great. Maybe we can do this again sometime." That's passive masculinity, hoping she'll suggest what happens next. Instead, I leaned forward slightly and said, "I'm really enjoying talking with you. There's this amazing dessert place down the street. Want to continue this conversation there?" Her eyes lit up. Not because of the dessert place, but because I was leading. I was making decisions. I was being actively masculine. She can tell within 5 seconds because she's watching for specific signals. Is he afraid to take up space? Does he apologize for existing? Is he overly nice to the point of seeming fake? Or does he express his masculinity naturally and confidently? Women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to reading masculine energy. They can sense immediately whether you're comfortable being a man or if you're ashamed of your own desires and intentions. Here's what most men don't understand about female psychology. Women want to be pursued. They want to feel desired. They want a man who sees what he wants and goes after it. Not in an aggressive or disrespectful way, but with quiet confidence and clear intention. The dessert place led to a walk through the city center. The walk led to an invitation back to my apartment. And yes, we ended up together that night. But it wasn't because I was manipulative or pushy. It was because I understood the difference between active and passive masculinity. At every step, I was the one moving things forward. I suggested the dessert place. I suggested the walk. I invited her up. I initiated the kiss. Not because she couldn't make these moves herself, but because that's not how attraction works for women. When a woman has to be the one constantly pushing things forward, she starts to feel masculine in the relationship. And when she feels masculine, you become feminine by default. And a woman can't feel attracted to a man she perceives as less masculine than herself. When you get active masculinity right, everything changes. Women start seeing you as a leader, someone they can trust to make decisions and create experiences. They feel feminine around you, which triggers their natural attraction response. But here's the tragedy I see playing out everywhere. Millions of men are walking through life being passively masculine, wondering why nothing happens. They're good guys with good intentions, but they've been taught that actively pursuing what they want is somehow wrong or inappropriate. They see other men, sometimes men who seem less deserving, succeeding with women, and they can't understand why. The answer is simple. Those men understand that women need active masculinity to feel attracted. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you been interested in a woman but did nothing about it? How many times have you hoped she would make the first move? How many opportunities have slipped away because you were being passively masculine? The woman at the bookstore I mentioned at the beginning? I saw her again 6 months later at a friend's party. She was with someone else, a guy who was honestly less attractive than me, made less money, and had fewer accomplishments on paper. But you know what he had? He had the confidence to approach her when he saw her. He had the active masculinity to pursue what he wanted instead of hoping it would come to him. That could have been me with her. That could have been my life. But I chose to be passively masculine, and passive masculinity is invisible to women. Here's the harsh truth that changed everything for me. Women don't owe you anything for being a good guy. They don't owe you attraction for being kind or accomplished or even attractive yourself. The only thing that creates attraction is demonstrating the kind of masculinity they're biologically programmed to respond to. But here's the incredible news. Once you understand this, everything changes. Once you embrace active masculinity, you start seeing results almost immediately. Active masculinity isn't about being aggressive or disrespectful. It's about starting conversations instead of waiting for perfect moments, suggesting dates instead of hoping she'll bring it up, and making physical moves instead of waiting for obvious signals, leading interactions instead of following her lead, and making decisions instead of asking, "What do you want to do?" When you're actively masculine, women feel safe to be feminine. They can relax into their natural role because they trust that you'll handle the masculine responsibilities. This creates the Scrambler effect I talked about earlier, a psychological state where she becomes completely focused on you because you've triggered her deepest attraction mechanisms. And this is exactly the complete system I said I would show you. Remember that woman from the bookstore who got away? 6 months after seeing her at the party, I ran into her again at a networking event. But this time was different. This time, I had learned the power of active masculinity. I walked directly up to her, maintained eye contact, and said, "I remember you from the bookstore on 5th Street. I should have introduced myself that day. I'm Michael." Her response? "I remember you too. I was hoping you would come talk to me." We talked for an hour. I got her number. We went out the following weekend. And for the next 4 months, we had an incredible relationship that ended only because she got a job offer across the country. The point isn't that we stayed together forever. The point is that I finally understood how attraction really works. I stopped being passively masculine and started being actively masculine. And everything changed. Here's what every man needs to understand about female psychology. Women are not attracted to potential. They're attracted to action. They're not attracted to what you might do someday. They're attracted to what you're doing right now. When you approach a woman, you're not inconveniencing her. You're giving her the opportunity to experience attraction. When you suggest a date, you're not being pushy. You're being actively masculine. When you initiate physical contact, you're not crossing a line. You're creating the masculine-feminine polarity that she craves. This is why the nice guys finish last stereotype exists. It's not that women don't like nice men. It's that most nice guys are actually just passively masculine men who are afraid to express their desires and intentions clearly. If you're tired of being invisible to women, if you're sick of watching other men succeed where you fail, if you want to finally understand how attraction really works, then you need to learn about the Scrambler effect I mentioned earlier. This psychological principle is the foundation of everything I teach about active masculinity and female psychology. It's the secret that transformed my dating life and the lives of thousands of men who've used this system. How I finally stopped being the friendzone guy. Without changing my personality. With one simple move, you can stop losing women that initially liked you because you couldn't play the game. Re-enter the dating scene with confidence at any age. Pass each and every one of women's secret tests. Unlock the Scrambler is the only system that combines eliminating the nice guy behavior ingrained in so many men with the most cutting-edge discoveries of modern psychology. So you can gain the attraction of women, project personal power, and avoid the "let's just be friends" speech for good. The link is in the description below. Don't let another day pass being passively masculine while other men live the life you want. Take action right now, because active masculinity starts with this one simple decision. The choice is yours: remain invisible, or finally become the kind of man who attracts women naturally and effortlessly. Click the link below and discover the Scrambler effect that changes everything.